manufacturing plant was a siloed mini-city that was guarded like a fortress castle. And you know, only a select few individuals were allowed at the castle, employees who worked there, credential contractors, and even executives had to have a time scheduled invitation to enter the castle. But here's the thing that's interesting. When Industry 4.0 launched, it transitioned the manufacturing plant into what I call the heart of a corporation. You go, what does that mean? It used to be because the plant was off someplace else and corporate headquarters was someplace that they normally did not converge. But Industry 4.0 now made the smart factory the heart and soul of a company where all devices were networked together with the power to create the new gold of the 21st century. You say new gold? Yes, it is not the dollar, it's data. Data is powering our world in places that we've never seen before. And with that new smart factory, we have seen new efficiencies, new insights, and of course, a heightened sense of profitability. However, some of the new ideas that should be happening have not transitioned with the old manufacturing plant into the smart factory. And the one thing that we haven't seen is the level of protection. If my smart factory is the core of my corporation, then I should be guarding this factory and its cyber assets with my dear life. However, that's not happening the way we think it should be. People say, Ida, why would you say that? Because in 2021, we had the greatest number of ransomware attacks ever in the history of the United States of America. And ironically, the bulk of them happened in a manufacturing smart factory. You know why? Hackers are here to make money. They are cyber criminals, your new mafia, your new organized crime ring. And what we do know is that manufacturing plants and smart factories are the easiest place to hit. You know why? Because with this new supply chain dilemma that we're having, we know that when we hit a manufacturing plant, we are going to get a ransomware payment. Why? Because no one wants their factory to be shut down or to go offline. Because to go offline is not just the ransomware payment, it's the millions and millions of dollars of losses that come when a smart factory goes down. And I'll give you a good example. When Merck's manufacturing facility went down, even though their ransomware wasn't even $5 million, the cost of recovery was $915 million, almost $1 billion. What did that $1 billion include? Idle employees who could not work because the facility is not producing. Production got halted and came to a grinding halt, which means there's no products to sell. That means salespeople have nothing to sell. That means there's no revenue because accounting departments cannot compensate for the monies that they're losing. So a lot of things happen when a cyber attack occurs, well beyond the ransomware. But what happens, we get stuck and we see ransomware and we see that $692 million of ransomware, and we never think about what happens after the ransomware and what it takes to recover a corporation to come back. Now, oftentimes we think the hacker is just so smart. The hacker is not that smart. What most hackers use is two things that they do to infiltrate a corporation. The first one is that we always look for vulnerabilities. People say, what is that? Those are flaws in software code. I don't have to reinvent the wheel. I'm gonna go look at the software and figure out where are the flaws. And I'm gonna tell you how intense that is. The National Vulnerability Database, which is housed by the federal government, has 150,000 vulnerabilities of software in our country. Think about that for a minute. I, as a hacker, have a choice of 150,000 vulnerabilities to enter your plant. So I don't have to be that smart. I just go to the database and figure out what works for me. And usually, I will find it. I'll give a good example. During the pandemic, a lot of corporations utilize Citrix remote access. Wonderful piece of software. However, the vulnerabilities that it had during the pandemic went up 2,000%. I don't have to reinvent the wheel. I just use what's already there. And so that's what hackers do. So we enter your systems through things we already know that are going wrong, but you know we could have got stopped if most corporations had upgraded their software. And I can't begin to tell you of a lot of those vulnerabilities. Most of them are because companies did not update their software, sometimes for years. And so the hacker doesn't have to be that brilliant. The second thing a hacker does is that we are good at manipulating people. See, people are the wild card. Oftentimes we think that when things happen in our corporation, it's because people are angry with the corporation, and they are not. Most times, people just want to help. And a hacker is really good at using what we call social engineering to manipulate your staff to do what we want them to do. And sometimes it's the little things. And I'll give you a good example. I was in a plant facility and I saw this. This is what I call a standard USB drive. Very wonderful invention. But I, as a corporation, would never allow this device into my corporation, my plant, anything that's related to my staff. You know why? Because first of all, a person could stick this into a computer and steal every piece of intellectual property you have, put the top back on it, put it in their pocket, and walk out of your facility. You don't think that's a cyber attack, but it is, because it involved a computer. But I didn't have to hack the place. All I did was walk in. Or I could take this same device, stick it into your computer, and put in malware to create ransomware. So we think that the hacker is hacking away and they're typing up all this information. That is not the case. They are people that are already in our systems who are manipulating the system with something that is simple as a USB drive. Now, I actually took this drive from a corporation. And I said to the person as I was walking out, why do you guys use these? They never thought about it. They actually give them away as trinkets. So you're giving away the trinket that I'm going to use to hack your system. A small thing, but a very powerful thing to prevent hacks on your system. So that's what happens in a lot of cases. The last thing is that I believe that when you elicit your employees to have diversity of thought, people who have different backgrounds see things you would never see. Now, I did chuckle because they've been giving away these things for 10 years. But I walked in because I am a very diverse individual. I'm African American and woman over 55. And I immediately saw that and go, you need to get rid of that. Because people from different thought patterns have different ideas and see things differently than you do. But I also have a different group. I've been around criminals and I understand how they think. So when I walk into a facility, I kind of put on my criminal hat so that I can see how do we do this differently than what you see. And so these had to go. How many of you all have these in your facility? So then the question I have to ask, are you guarding your smart factory like it is a castle fortress in cyberspace? If not, you may have to rethink some of the small things that happen in your facility of how you're going to protect your R&D, how you're going to protect your intellectual property, and how you're going to protect your revenues. But at the end of the day, it's the little things that matter in order to protect your smart factory. And with that being said, good luck and make sure that you're protecting your place.